Hey JJ, we saw the news about AD and Gabe. Any just quick update aside from that they're out about how they're feeling and potential going into tomorrow night's game as well.
Yeah, with 80, the ankle sprain from Golden State, and just a ton of games. Just want to be smart about it. With some soreness, some lingering soreness. And Gabe, I would say, continues to be day to day, but still dealing with some pain from that oblique injury.
AD obviously goes out after the 7 minutes in Golden State, and you're able to find a way to play well. How different is tonight's game? Portland, obviously a bigger team, just completely different matchup. But how do you feel like you have to try to survive without AD?
I don't think our points of emphasis in our game plan would be any different if AD was in the lineup tonight. We're obviously going to miss having him out there. You're not going to, have somebody step up and give his level of production. But, we need to do the simple things tonight, which is run, pass, and screen and take care of the basketball. They have a couple of disruptive defenders, particularly with Kamara. We have to have awareness of where he's at, on the ball, off the ball, all that stuff. Defensively, it's going to be how we start and finish possessions, getting back in transition, and keeping Ayton and Kamara and Avdia off the glass. We got to be great with our shifts. They're gonna ISO certain guys, and they're gonna run a lot of angle pick and roll. So our help side and our talk has to be great tonight.
And then just if you care to share who would be starting for AD, and kind of in accordance with that, you've got Hayes and Koloko on the one hand, and then Hachimura, maybe DFS for you've got a big versus small groups. How do you feel like you can do that?
Yeah, Jaxson will start, and excited to have him back in the lineup. And Christian will play as well. So we'll obviously read the game. If we feel like we want to go back to that small ball lineup, we will. But both Jaxson will start and Christian will play.
JJ, now that you guys 30 some odd games through the season, you've seen a lot of these teams in person. You watch a ton of basketball. You've seen everybody play. How do you kind of view the strength of competition in the league and where you fit into that kind of structure?
I think we're a really good basketball team. I do, and I think there's a lot of really good basketball teams, and then there's a couple teams that are elite. We've played two of them. OKC's awesome, and Cleveland the other night. There's a reason they're 29-4. But we're like I said at the end of the game the other night, to you guys, we're right there. I like where our team's at. I like where our group's at. I like where our spirit's at. We'll just continue to try to get better as the season progresses.
JJ, you guys have had several of these games over the last few weeks where the scoring's really concentrated with LeBron, AD, and Austin, in terms of those guys being like 20-plus points, no one else being in double figures. What would you attribute that to?
We don't make threes.
Okay. Is that simple as that?
I mean, the other night, for example, we had 28 catch and shoot threes. We made 7. Outside LeBron shot, we were 2 for 13 on corner threes. Shake made both of those. We had a stretch leading into, I think it was the Detroit game, where we had a 13-game stretch where we were last in the league in three-pointers made, 29th in attempts and 30th in percentage. So we had a stretch, then we played 3 games where we made threes, and then the other night we didn't make threes. For our role guys who take, some games 2, some games 5 or 6, maybe they get a transition layup, maybe the offensive rebound putback. That's the difference of scoring in double figures or not for those guys a lot of times, is whether or not they make a couple threes.
JJ, early in the season, you guys weren't running as many pick and rolls. Seems like that's picked up, especially throughout December. I guess, what do you attribute that to? I guess what's gone into that uptick?
I think some of it was getting D'Lo more pick and rolls when he was with us. He went from 11 a game to a 7-game stretch where it was 22 a game. So some of it is that. I think Austin on ball has been really good. And the other thing is just within early offense, trying to get certain screening combinations and certain spacing alignments that we feel can be advantageous. And, we've tried to be smart about it, not just say we're just going to come down and run angle pick and roll every time, but we're certainly trying to find balance with all the different actions we have.
JJ, I think early in your Clipper tenure, you called being traded midseason one of like the worst things that you've ever had to deal with as a pro, if I recall.
I don't know if I went that far.
It was bad. You said you hated it, I think, or something like that. I don't remember. It was 15 years ago. That was very tough.
Didn't like it, maybe. It was difficult.
Okay, we can soften it over time if you'd like.
It wasn't the worst thing that ever happened in my career, trust me.
Sure. How did that experience, how has your experience helped with the way that you want to onboard Dorian and Shake? And sort of like, what is a realistic runway for those players to sort of know what you're doing?
Yeah, I think a month. I think that's probably fair to them. We think about the time that we spend in August and September with a number of our guys, October for 3 weeks with our full team before we played an actual game. It takes a little bit of time. Doe was funny. He's like, everybody runs the same thing. I'm like, you're right. But not everybody uses the same language. And there's language stuff. There's audibles. There's things that, Austin and LeBron and AD, just from playing together now for a few years, they just can do. And so there's the familiarity aspect to it. But I think for me, it's just creating simplicity for them early on, getting them on the court and just playing. And, both those guys are pros and have just a great mentality around team sport. And I'm very confident that they'll integrate very quickly.
So you guys didn't practice yesterday, but can those guys, were they able to get on the court with coaches for like a version of like Stay Ready or something like that?
Yeah. And there was a thing that we talked about in our coaches meeting this afternoon about, do we need to walk through this with Shake and Doe? And they were like, no, we did it this morning. So they've had, I think, 3 of those sessions already.
Coach, first off, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Thank you. Was wondering, last year I saw you did a segment kind of on New Year's resolutions when you were podcasting for different teams. I wonder, do you have any for yourself or the team heading into 2025?
For myself, yeah, I do. I'd like to lose about 8 pounds. Played at 196. I'm about 204 right now, so I'd like to get down to 196. What is that going to require? You can't just say I'm going to lose 8 pounds. You got to go about like what is that going to require? More focus on my fitness and my wellness, my sleep. Sleep for sure. I try to also play some tennis this year. My wife is a big tennis player. Everybody knows I love golf, but try to allocate some time for her to play tennis with her. The other reason behind that is because every summer we have it's grown in size, but we have a tennis tournament at the end of the summer called the COVID Classic, which started in 2020. And I think my combined record is 1-15 in that, and it's really wearing on me. So I really want to be just more competitive in that tournament. So I've got an 8-month runway. Fair. That's fair, Dave.
Coach, and for
It was 196 when I started this job. Jesus.
thank you for sharing those insights into some personal improvement. Any for the franchise while you're
for
coaching?
the team, right. There was a second part of that question. I think we've been trending in that direction. I think with the addition of Dorian in particular, would like us to be a more physical team.
Thanks, Coach.
Yep.
JJ, you said at the half you were impressed with the shot quality that you were generating, and it seemed like that carried over into the second half as well. But how about the defensive consistency and kind of what you got from Hayes and Koloko holding things down and with AD out?
Both those guys were fantastic. Partially because I lived it as a player early in my career. There's a testament and an example there for just being a professional and staying ready. Jaxson was available the other night for the first time in a month, and he got a DNP, and then a game later he's starting and making a huge impact. And Christian wasn't in uniform the other night, and then comes in and ends up playing, close to 20 minutes, and that was probably his best game of the season. Not just because he scored, but I mean the offensive rebounds were huge. He's very consistent in executing our pick and roll coverages. So excited for both those guys that they had big time games for us.
JJ, I asked you about the supporting cast pregame, and Max comes out as a career high 28 points, career high 5 threes made. What did you see from him tonight offensively?
Yeah, I'll start with the beginning of the game. I thought our defensive spirit and our physicality, which is something that we really emphasize pregame, it just, it was one of those things where you're just kind of trading baskets. We're generating good looks. We missed some shots, and we give up a 31-point quarter. And didn't think his first run was good in terms of his defensive disposition. He also took 2 mid-range shots, and I wanted to really wring his neck, just. And when he got back in the game, I thought his career night started with changing the disposition on defense. And the other thing is, we talked about him developing as an initiator for the offense because we're down a ball handler right now. We probably had 10 to 12 possessions where he had to bring it up, including some possessions late game. There were 2 close calls, but he didn't have any turnovers on those plays. I thought that was big. Again, for him and his development, just getting him in these situations, I think, is huge. I think you guys know how much I believe in Max, and just happy. He's been building now for several weeks, and he had a 3-game stretch around Christmas, and then to come back tonight and have his career high is just awesome.
JJ, without AD, obviously guys knew they had to do more, but when did you really see it kind of from LeBron? Was it simply shot making that sort of propelled him, or I guess, and what did you make of his night?
Yeah, I mean, he did it in a number of ways. I like when he's a willing 3-point shooter. We showed one clip from Cleveland the other night where we created an advantage, and he got a kick-out pass and dribbled and ended up swinging it to the corner, and it ended up being a dead possession for us. So, we want him aggressive, shot ready from 3 just as much as we want him aggressive to get downhill and put pressure on the rim. He's just fantastic. There was a couple possessions where even before they cut it to 4, it was 8, 9, whatever, and because of their switching and us playing small and not having AD out there, there was a couple possessions that seemed like they were dead possessions, and then he just bailed us out. So, just another 38-point game for LeBron.
JJ, we talked to you earlier in the season about Dalton, and you said something along the lines of, at some point, you have confidence it's just going to click, and then he'll kind of take off from there. Max is younger than Dalton, but he's in year 3, and you alluded to the stretch he's kind of been in. Is this it kind of clicking for him? Is that what you're seeing for him? And could this be him entering into a different phase of his career before our very eyes?
Yeah, I don't have any expectations with Max as it relates to scoring right now. I think that part of his game will continue to develop both on and off the ball. I know all guys want to score, and it's not to say that he can't have nights like this. But I think again, I'll use my own experience. You have to learn how to be a pro. And by that, I mean you have to learn how to do the same things every night to the point where you're reliable and the coach can't take you off the court. And that's where the growth I've seen from Max over the last 6 to 8 weeks.
I asked you about this after the Golden State game. Tonight was the 5th time this season you guys have taken at least 43s. 2 of those times came without ID playing at all. The other time was the Golden State game where you only played 7 minutes. Do you feel like there's a formula for you guys to be a higher volume three-point shooting team like we've talked about, while also, I guess, having him, obviously one of the best players in the world, having him also available?
Yeah, you got to find the balance. We're trying to do more. And I was thinking about your question. It was a very thoughtful question pregame about our pick and rolls going up, and I was thinking about it some more. And I think one of the things that we've probably done less of, actually I know we've done less of, is just our wedge punch action. And partially it was we got really lazy with our spacing. We got lazy with our screening angles, and he's catching the ball at 19 feet in a butter situation. It just wasn't good for us to do that, and we really want to have AD being dynamic and playing on the move. That's where we think he really has an advantage. And it's not to say we haven't posted him, because we have, but when we can play fast with space, that generally leads to a higher 3-point volume. So we're always going to try to find that balance.
Hey, Coach, back here. Earlier in his career, Max was back and forth between here and South Bay. When you got here, what are things that you identified with him that have allowed him to be able to contribute at this level?
I would say Dan's not going to be happy about this, but I'm going to reference Mind the Game. And in the very first episode, I talked about what I think a good basketball player is, and it's not a bag. It's love of the game. It's the care factor. It's competitiveness. It's basketball IQ. And being around Max for most of the summer, that stuff jumps off the charts. And so when you have that inherently, as a coach, you just want to pour into them. And it's not to say that I haven't held him accountable, because I have, but I'm also willing to live with some growth mistakes from him. Just like I am with Dalton, and when Bronny's in the rotation, I'll be the same way. It's all our young guys. You got to be willing to live with some mistakes and allow them to grow. But if you have those characteristics, it makes me want to pour into you.
You can talk about your podcast whenever. Totally good with it. Portland has some defenders that on paper would present challenges for a player like Austin. The types of guys that have given him some issues, athleticism, length. How did you think he navigated that? And did you see a more distribution mindset from him?
Well, and he got 15 jacks up, which is probably just above season average. I think early on, I told Mike this at halftime, it's a sign of respect that Kamara started the game on him and not on LeBron. And, Austin has really been, as much as LeBron has been awesome, Austin's been like an engine for us recently. I think coming into tonight, he was averaging 22 a game, 8 assists, 6 rebounds on 50-45 splits since he came back from injury. And so I told him earlier, I was like, you don't have to bring the ball up every time. Let somebody else do that. Don't waste your energy. I thought he had some good looks, from 3, and then he was just like he normally is, just very dynamic, both on and off the ball, which created advantages, and he made a lot of terrific reads tonight and got his teammates really good shots.
Can you first just take us through the last month and change? You were out for a little while, you came back for the Phoenix game, went out again. How was that recovery process, and how did you get your ankle up to the point where it was ready to go today?
Like the past month was definitely been a little hard. It's probably the longest I've ever been out in my career. But just rehabbing every day, lifting, and then like just getting like stationary shots for first like week and a half, and then finally got to like start doing actual workouts, and then just been conditioning like every day. Still out of shape, but I'm gonna get there.
How'd it feel?
Felt good. Felt really good. Just felt great being back out there with the guys. Just energy was good, so it was nice.
JJ mentioned, both with you and Koloko and kind of the importance of, defense, the running the floor, the energy on the glass. What did you see from him kind of supplementing what you were able to do with AD out?
Oh, yeah. CK was balling today. I mean, we just had to be those guys since AD wasn't there, obviously, to hold down the paint. And I think last time we played these guys, they had a ton of offensive rebounds, so it's just our job to try to keep them down from as many as they got last time. They still had 21 I know they only had 8 today, so I was really just controlling the paint for us, and I feel like CK did a great job of that.
Jaxson, when you went out in Phoenix, the team went through a bunch of stuff and hit a bit of a skid, and then it was on the rise. How did you see the identity shift in the time you were out, and what do you like about kind of the stuff they've been able to do consistently on defense over the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, I mean, the little skid of bad games, it's always going to happen for a team in the NBA, I feel like. Just guys get to playing a little bit more ISO ball that game. There's a few more ISO possessions. A few games, guys weren't making as many shots. Just guys got tired. It was a bunch of long road trips, I think, too, so guys were a little tired. But and then, like, they've been turned around. This past week and a half has been a good few games, and so yeah, it's just I feel like it's just been the intensity on the defensive end, and just urgency and like the little things.
Kind of to that question, just on the opposite side of the ball, offensively, what have you noticed in terms of whether it's playing tonight or just from as an observer, the structure of the offense? How have you felt that change, in the past month or so, especially with Austin becoming more involved as a ball handler?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, it's going to go through a little transition period whenever you're kind of getting used to guys in new positions and new lineups and stuff like that. So, I mean, beginning of it was obviously a struggle, but I felt like now our offense is looking, one of the best in the league. It's looking how we did at the beginning of the year. And so, it's just I feel like for us, it's just all about the little things. Guys are forcing overs on screens. We're doing a lot of guard screens that just messes a lot of teams up because they're not expecting that. Just little things like that.
Hey, Jaxson, welcome back. Your leading scorer tonight is 40 years old. Your second leading scorer tonight is 21 years old. I don't think either of them necessarily reflect their age in the way they handle themselves. I guess, what do you sort of make of LeBron's longevity now that you've been close to it? I guess along those lines, what have you seen from Max Christie as a young teammate and kind of the opportunity he's gotten?
LeBron is 40 years old. He had 38, 8 assists, and only 3 boards today. But, a 40-year-old man, 40 years old, 40, playing in the NBA, having 38 is insane. So, that's just all I got to say on that. And then Max has just been great lately. He was definitely sitting out for a little bit in that little stretch, I want to say it was 2-3 weeks ago. Honestly, a month ago now. But they sat him out for 2-3 games. He responded well, and then he's kind of just really stepped into the starting role and just making the right decisions. And I feel like he slowed down in his decision making and just kind of looking at the game a little slower now. He's been killing it.
Jaxson, how difficult was, you mentioned it being difficult, the stretch of, you being out and this being the longest kind of period. What did you kind of learn about how, you need to rehab or take care of your body for the longevity of the season? And then second part to this is, what have been your early impressions of the new teammates in DFS and Shake?
Yeah, just really the thing for me when I was out was just trying to stay in shape. That was my biggest thing. It's hard to do. Obviously, I can go on the bike. I was starting to go on the treadmill last week, started running on the court half a week ago. But really just to staying in shape is the hardest part, really, during those times. And then Shake and Dorian just been killing it. I've always been fans of their games since Doe was in Dallas and Shake was in Philly, so I've just always been fans of their games. They're just great teammates, and they've just been stepping up early on.
Can you talk about just why was it hard for you to just why was it the hardest part was just staying in shape, and what do you make of the camaraderie with the team? Like, what are some things that you've been noticing since that you've been out?
Yeah, I mean, it's just hard staying in shape because obviously that game shape's different than just running. I mean, that's all running, jumping, side to side, like nonstop for 5 minutes, and you get a break. And then, so I mean, it's just a different type of intensity with conditioning off the court and then game conditioning. So, and then also I feel like the most difficult part for me was just not being able to be out there with the guys. So like, I mean, like that's been a huge thing for me is just getting back around the team, having that camaraderie again. New guys fit in just perfectly fine. Like, I mean, so it's just been good.
Thanks, Jax.
Yep. Thank you, guys.
Max, career high, 28 points for you tonight. Congratulations, first off. Second off, what were you seeing out there that kind of helped you get into that rhythm?
I think I was making shots. I made 5 threes tonight. I thought I did a good job kind of cutting to the basket. They were a very physical, very, swarming team with the guys on the ball. So I was able to cut behind the defense, get a few dunks, and then, be on the backside and be able to knock down a couple threes.
JJ mentioned that he felt like early defensively it wasn't there for you, but that you picked it up. And that defensive disposition as that went up, so your offense as well. How much does setting the tone defensively, I guess, help you on the offensive end?
Yeah, 100%. It's definitely a big part of my game is to kind of get myself going defensively for sure, kind of with, like you said, my disposition starting at the point of attack on usually the opposing team's best players. So trying to bring energy on that end of the floor. Hopefully it trickles down on the rest of the guys, and then obviously it'll help me a little bit on the offensive end too, just kind of get my body in a rhythm and a flow.
Max, to follow up on that a little bit with the defense, in the fourth quarter there was that pairing between you and Dorian on the wings defensively. Just kind of what did you make of that pairing there, in terms of what you guys were able to do on the defensive end?
Yeah, well, Doe's a great defender. He's got a lot of size. He's a big wing for sure, and so I think for us as a team that addition definitely helps us. And then you have me and Cam off the bench as well. Gabe, when he comes back from injury, we've got a lot of really good defenders, starting and then off the bench as well. So I think that pairing at the end of the game was great. I thought, we did a good job kind of holding them, holding their points, really trying to make sure that they weren't, scoring too much at the end of the last 2 minutes. So I thought me and Doe did a good job of that. I thought we did a good job of rebounding the ball at the end too.
Max, you took 16 shots, the second most besides, LeBron James, of course, and obviously it was working for you. When did you realize you were kind of in that flow state and feeling that rhythm, and how were you able to kind of be aggressive when other nights maybe that's not your responsibility?
I mean, honestly, I think I hit that three in the second quarter or something like that, my second stint. And then I hit another three after that. So, I mean, I felt pretty good. Even after I missed my first few shots, I still wanted to stay aggressive. I thought my positive self-talk was really good in that moment, and it was able to kind of keep me going. I hit a couple threes and had a couple nice reads on the backside to cut to the basket, get a few dunks, and had 5 free throws as well. I made every single one. So I just think tonight I was aggressive. I was assertive, and I stayed positive with my self-talk even after a little bit of a slow start.
Max, is the positive self-talk like an internal dialogue, or are you kind of mouthing any words, or is it just what you're saying inside your?
No, it's positive. It's both actually. So a little bit of internal dialogue in my head, and then obviously it helps too to kind of voice it out to yourself. Just kind of you yourself actually hearing yourself talk positively. So it's definitely better than the opposite of kind of getting in your head and all that stuff. So it's kind of a strategy I've developed over a little bit of time. So.
Gotcha. Just thinking defensively, you get Dorian Finney-Smith comes in, and he tends to scale upwards in terms of like 3, 4, 5 defending. And so, you're still counted on in the backcourt. Maybe Gabe does that as well off the bench. But when you're looking at the next matchup, are you immediately thinking about like who the guy is? And how much has that changed night to night now that you're in that starting spot and they're kind of counting on you for that?
Yeah. I mean, I think tomorrow we got Trae Young to start, and a really good Atlanta team that's coming in hungry. So for me, that's kind of my main focus is Trae Young to start, and trying to do as good of a job on him as I can. I know Doe and Cam are going to pick up, the wings, and they can guard guards too as well. So I just think the core we have defensively of, me, Doe, Cam, Gabe when he comes back. I think we've got a lot of wings that can really defend, and I think we bring a lot of energy for this team. And I think it trickles down obviously on the offensive end too for us personally making shots, and then too just energy plays, even easy baskets in transition when we get some steals, get some deflections. So I think the group that we have for us as a core on the defensive end is really, really good. And I know all of us kind of prepare on a night-to-night basis, to guard the guys that we are going to guard. So for me tomorrow, it's Trae Young, and obviously they got a couple other guys too, Bogdanovich and Hunter off the bench. So I think we're all kind of keen in on that and how we can do our job defensively to help this team win.
Max, you had a great performance tonight, and it was clear to see your confidence going to another level in each play. And how do you feel are you feeling after being one of the key players in the Lakers win tonight?
Yeah, I mean, it felt great. Tonight was a career night for me, so this is something that I want to hang on to and try to replicate as much as possible. But, just kind of seeing what I did, today and my mindset going into the game and how can I kind of repeat that for games to come as well, try to stay consistent, as best as possible with this. And I think for me, it just starts on the defensive end, which is great because that's something I can really control with my effort. I happen to make some shots tonight. I think I work hard enough to be able to see those results, but I'm not going to make shots every single night, so I still need to find a way to impact the game defensively, and I thought I did a good job of that.
And Max, since you entered the starting lineup, it feels like both you and Austin have taken your games to another level. What can you say just about how you guys have complemented each other?
Yeah, Austin's been phenomenal. Tonight he didn't necessarily shoot the ball well, but 11 assists, 8 rebounds, plus 10 on the plus minus. So he's still impacting the game in so many ways other than scoring. And for him being the lead ball handler now, his usage has gone up, and, guys are really swarming him. They're picking him up full court. And I thought he's done a phenomenal job kind of handling that pressure, staying poised and composed, in those situations. And I think for him, he's just, taking our team to another level too. He's just so dynamic. He's so good at basketball in general. He can shoot, he can pass, he rebounds the ball well for a guard. So having someone like him step up is absolutely phenomenal for us.
Hey, Max, back here, congrats on the night. JJ's talked about pouring into you. He talks about your love of the game, your competitiveness. When he pours into you, when he's encouraging you, what does that look like, and how's that translating to you having a night like tonight?
I think he's obviously a very encouraging coach. Him being a player as well, he kind of knows, what guys need and how to help guys, play at their best. And he's done a phenomenal job, in my opinion, of encouraging everybody as a team, encouraging individuals as well. And I think for me, it just gives me all the confidence in the world to kind of go out there and play my game. So tonight I was able to do that. He was very encouraging, obviously, tonight. Of us as a team, even in the locker room after the game, it was a very encouraging win for us. Obviously, it was a kind of a gritty win against a really good Portland team that's very scrappy. So, his positivity for us in the locker room is absolutely phenomenal, and it's something that we kind of lean on.
Max, everyone talks about kind of just your maturity and the juxtaposition of you and LeBron having such phenomenal nights tonight. But where does the maturity and the motivation to just set yourself to a different level standard come from?
I think first off, my family and my parents have done a phenomenal job putting me in positions to, be a good person and obviously learn a lot of things. They've raised me really well. And I think for me too, just kind of trying to find ways to continue to improve myself, obviously on the court, but the mental side of the game, I've said it before, super important to me. And I think that kind of goes hand in hand with the maturity that you guys say I have. So I appreciate that. But I think for me, just trying to find ways to continue to grow on the court and obviously mentally as well. I think those two go hand in hand. And so I've been putting in a lot of work, in my mind as well, and showed up tonight for sure.
Thanks, Max.
Thanks, guys.